What's going on? It's Altone, and I want to give you a quick review of the MegaHome Distiller. So, where we live at, our water is not necessarily the cleanest. We live kind of out in a rural area, and our county does the best job they possibly can at filtering the water coming into our home. And I'm sure you know that some of the standards that are in guidelines in which they have to follow are not the most stringent. So we always want to make sure that we are drinking the most pure water that we possibly can, to a certain extent, right? We don't want to totally remove all the minerals and stuff from the water, which I will talk about shortly, but we wanted to make sure that we actually had good drinking water. So one of the things that we have done in the past is, and I'm not bashing them at all. I think they're good products. Is we had a Brita water filter. These things they work well when they work. We had a previous model of this one, which this piece is clear, and you could actually see that when you put the filter in, it was not seating properly, and so it would take us. We'd go through 4 or 5 containers of water before that filter would actually seat properly, so that it would filter the water out. And buying filter after filter, and again with them not seating properly, and this one's brand new, we haven't even used it yet, only because of the fact that I'm tired of using these things. And again, it's not that they're bad products. They do a great job when they work. However, it's just a little time consuming. And of course, and if you have one of the tricks I found is if you put hot water in it first and hold the filter down and let it filter through that, usually it softens up the seal, and sometimes that'll help it to seat if you happen to have one and you're having issues with it. But we went through quite a few different things. We thought about having actually a reverse osmosis system put in our home, which can be very expensive, and I still plan on doing it because I want to save our appliances. However, like I said, it's an expensive deal. I mean, at least $7,000, and honestly, we don't have that kind of money right now to spend on that, being that we've had so many other things going on. So I wanted to share with you, as we started looking around and we're doing things around the house, we decided to get the MegaHome Distiller. Now, one of the things I will tell you about distilling drinking water, and there's controversy after controversy after controversy about how healthy it is to drink distilled water, because distilled water is pretty much almost the purest water that you can get, because essentially what it does is it boils the water, turns it into a vapor. Then that vapor is collected and cooled and turned back into a liquid, and that's what you're actually drinking. So there's not too many impurities that can cling on to that vapor. So you're getting pretty clean water. However, it also strips a lot of the minerals that your body needs from the water. So one of the things is putting in a little bit of, and just going to say this now, one of the tips that I found is putting in a little bit of apple cider vinegar. There's a certain amount per gallon of water that you should put in. It helps you to get back those minerals that your body needs as you're drinking that water. Otherwise, distilled water could possibly pull minerals from your body. So this is a thing with anything and with everything. Always make sure that you check and do your own research. I'm going to give you an overview of the distiller that we have, and hopefully giving you information that will help you make decisions on whether this product is right for you or not, and if it is, what things you might want to think about and what questions you might want to ask and get answers to prior to purchasing the product. So let's get to the distiller. So this is the MegaHome Distiller, and pretty much what comes with it in the box. So you have the distiller itself, which has a power cord in the back. Top just pops off. It will hold about a gallon of water, or essentially 4 liters of water, and your glass container that collects your distilled water, a manual, instruction manual. You also have this water residue cleaner, and I will tell you that we've distilled quite a few gallons of water since we purchased it. There's quite a few. There's usually a pretty good amount of sediment left in the bottom of this, and some of it, because it's heating from the bottom, it burns into the stainless steel liner on the inside, which I'll show you in a bit. And so this cleaner, I've used it once since we purchased it. This cleaner, you fill it to the fill line, or essentially 4 liters of water, and you add 2 tablespoons of cleaner to it, to the water, and you let it run without the top on. Once the water is boiling, you turn it off and let it cool, and then you can remove that water. And it absolutely eliminates that sediment that gets in the residue that gets in the bottom of this tank. And you don't have to do it every time you use it, but every so often, depending on how much you use it and how frequently you think you should. Now I clean the distiller with regular dishwashing soap after using it every single time. After a few uses, depending on how much you actually have in there, you may decide that you want to go ahead and clean it. And again, this stuff works phenomenally. It really does remove the sediment off the bottom of it. It gets just as clean as the outside is here. It also comes with a six pack of activated charcoal filters. Those filters, this little piece here, and of course it's still got a little water in it. This little piece here comes off, and this is what that packet goes into. So as the water is distilled, and it comes out, it filters through the activated charcoal and then into your water container. To turn it on is very simple. You have one plug in the back that actually runs the fan at the top. And there's a coil here. The water will collect in the coil. The water vapor essentially will collect in the coil. The air will cool it, and it will drop down into your water collection bottle here. That's made of glass. Then of course your power cord, and again this is the distiller itself and your manual. So if you take the top off the distiller, again, which is very easy, and that's what the inside actually looks like. Let's set this aside here. So if you look inside mine, there's a little bit of water, and I'm not sure how well you can see it, but there's a little white ring. There it is. A little white ring in the bottom, and that little white ring is just some of the sediment that is settled in the bottom. And I've actually washed this since I used it last, but that's some of what's kind of burnt to the bottom of the distiller. So that's what this cleaner is going to help get out. It's going to take that out. As you're running this distiller, the fan is pretty loud, and the other thing is, of course, while it's running, there's a fan up top. It's not really loud, and I'll demonstrate that in a little bit, but it's got a good amount of sound to it, and it's blowing hot air from the top. So if you have low cabinets like we do, or if you have a place that you can let it run where it's not directly up underneath the cabinet, that might be the best way, because it's just hot air. There's no steam. However, you might want to be careful that you don't damage your cabinet. Like I said, it gets really, there's some really good hot air coming out of the top of there. But if you're worried that you're going to damage your cabinets or something that's above it, you might want to make sure that you put it in a place where it's got plenty of airspace on top of it. So this thing will take, the MegaHome Distiller will take about 5 hours to distill about a gallon of water. So it takes quite a bit of time, but it's actually heating up that amount of water and allowing it it's actually heating up and turning that water into water vapor, and it's going through these tubes and cooling. So it takes quite a bit of time for it to work. One thing they said, and I did actually time this yesterday, at about right at 5 hours, it still had a little ways to go. So if you put hot water in it, it should take a little bit less time because it doesn't have to heat the water as much. So let's go over there and hook it up and get it running so you can hear what it's going to sound like after you purchase it and you're using it at home. So here we have the MegaHome Distiller set up in the normal place that we would set it up at. I'll spin it around. I've already filled it up with water. There's two plugs here. One of them is for the external power, which is this one. This is for external power, and this is to power the fan at the top. So I'll go ahead and turn it back around here. And the reset button is essentially the power button in the front. So all we have to do is go ahead, take the top, and of course I never took this tag off. I'm kind of crazy about taking things off, but when it comes to taking off tags and stuff, I kind of leave labels on and all that kind of stuff, which are not necessary. It doesn't hurt anything by being there, but essentially that tag is just telling you on those power cords there's a little white line. Let's see if you can see that. When you plug it in, you want to make sure that that you plug it in till you can no longer see that white line. So we've got them plugged in, and of course when I plug it in now, since it's been unplugged, it may automatically come on, but normally that is the power button there. And before I do that, because of that reason, I'm going to go ahead and position the water container in the right spot. So now we have it connected. We have everything set up and ready to go. It's full of water. There's a fill line in here that I want to speak to you about as well. There's a fill line, it's about right here on the side, and you do not want to fill it past that line, because if you do and you're not watching this, it's possible that your catch container here can overfill, and then you have water all over the place, and you really don't want that. So, so let's plug it in. Okay, it didn't come on. That's good. So again, you want to make sure that you see I have a cabinet, and you may not be able to see. There's a cabinet right here. Let me see if I can adjust this so that you can see. So I have a cabinet here, but what I have is I have the distiller pulled out so that the air is going up above in front of the cabinet rather than right at it, right underneath the bottom. And the reason, of course, as I said before, is because it is hot air. I don't imagine it's going to damage this cabinet. I've only got about 5 inches in between the top and the base of this cabinet. However, I want to make sure that, you know, I do my best not to cause any damage to any furniture around it, because I don't want to. I don't want to have to replace doors and stuff on my cabinets. But we're going to go ahead and turn it on so you can get an opportunity to see what it sounds like as it's running. And it runs for about 5 hours. About 5 hours without stopping. And it will automatically shut off once all the water is gone. So as you can see, it's depending on how quiet or how much commotion or how loud things are in your home, so to speak. This may or may not be very loud to you. To me, it's extremely. Our house is extremely quiet. My kids are grown, so they don't live with me, so it's pretty quiet in my house most of the time. So this running in the background, if I go into another room, of course, I'm not hearing it at all. But being right here with it, of course, and being in the room with it, especially if you're on the phone or something, somebody might ask you, what's that sound going on in the background. It doesn't sound like a vacuum cleaner, trust me. So at any rate, that is the distiller. We'll come back and we'll take a look, and I will show you what kind of residue is left in the bottom of this distiller once it finishes. So we'll come back in about 5 hours and check that out. So it's been about 5 hours. Our water has been filtered or distilled. I went ahead and disconnected everything and took the top off. You do want to wait about at least a good 20 minutes before you take that top off of the distiller, because of the fact that there's still a lot of hot steam in there. You do not want to get burned. So if you look, you see that little brown bit of water left in the bottom there? And I poured it in the sink so you can see it a little bit better. I'm not sure how well you could see that. And then you can see the bottom, that little ring there. But it's been about, like I said, it's been a good little amount of time, and that is what's left of what has been actually distilled, what's actually been removed, the impurities that's basically been removed from our water in the process of distilling it. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll leave a link in the description below for the MegaHome Distiller. So if you'd like to check it out, you can go to the link and check it out. And again, I say do some research. Research it yourself to see if this is something that you want to try. Also research the advantages as well as the disadvantages to drinking distilled water, and some of the things that you might want to do in the process of, if you're going to use the distilled water for drinking water, you want to do some research and determine what other things you might want to add back, or in ways you want to add minerals back to the water prior to drinking it. So with that, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. I'm going to clean this up, and I'm actually going to refill it with some water and let it run again so we can have a good amount of water on hand. And I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day.